Hi, my name is Hope Hospital, and I am an instructor here at the university. I teach effective speech and interpersonal communication. I received my degree in 2013 from the University of Pittsburgh, and then I took a break for a while, became a mom in 2015, 2019 to those two beautiful babes up there. And then when the world decided to shut down due to COVID-19, I felt that was the perfect opportunity to go back for my master's. I received my master's in communication with an emphasis on teaching, and I am also going back now to get my master's in psychology as well. The summary and purpose of this video is just an introduction into my teaching style, how the class will work, how I prefer to run the class, how we communicate with each other. And during this video, I will cover different strategies to foster effective communication within the classroom, any challenges that may come up whenever we are in our classroom, de-escalation techniques that I've picked up along the way, as well as how effective communication can promote student success and a positive learning environment. First, I'm going to cover strategies that foster good communication. From the Chronicle of Higher Education, I've learned that it all comes back to being a good listener first. You know how we have that common tendency to answer someone's question before they finish asking it? So it all comes back to trying to stop that from happening, making a mental note to stop that. Another good technique that I like to do is to have small breakout groups in the classroom and then coming back together for a regroup with the whole class. I will have open office hours for any student in need. And also on the first day of class, I will have personal index cards that show me what the students like to learn, what their interests are, just so that I can really truly personalize their learning experience throughout their time in my course. Now, any class is going to come with some sort of challenge, whether that be unruly students, disruptive students, low engagement throughout the class, and just students lacking on performance. So first off, to tackle the obstacle of low engagement, I have proposed from the International Journal of Education, Technology, and Higher Education. They suggested using hot topics and relevant stories to today's students. So bringing those topics in, stuff that's happening today in the news or on TV, whatever it may be, bringing those students into real life situations and discussions will hopefully get engagement on both sides of the spectrum for that. Another challenge that we may face would be the same students only participating. So we have the ones that sit in the back of the class, your typical stereotypical back of the class students who don't participate at all. To combat this, I've decided to do a participation grade. So each student is required to participate an X number amount of times in order to receive their participation grade for the week, whether that be in online forums or within the classroom discussions that we have, because classroom discussions are going to be a vital part of our learning experience throughout the course. The Journal of E-Learning actually stated that classroom discussions promote and increase student ownership to the learning materials, so it's my hope that this happens with that. Another challenge, because we do so many discussions, would be that the heated arguments become too heated whenever it comes to those hot topics. Whenever I notice this happening, I'll be able to set a timer to always circle back, or this person only has this amount of time to fully submit their claim on the story, and then we circle back to the topic at hand. That way, no students get too escalated in the argument and it becomes a problem. In fact, the Community College Journal states, fostering dialogue is challenging when people have point of views that others find morally repulsive. But even people who don't respect each other's opinions can still learn from one another. My hope is that it doesn't get to that point, but if so, I have some de-escalating techniques that I'll use that I'll discuss here in just a second. To move on to the de-escalation techniques, like I said, lots of discussion questions, lots of open group discussions, small group discussions. So there is a huge cause of concern for students getting in these heated arguments. So if a student to student escalation occurs, the Rotman management posted an article that said the 3 most universal tools in trying to de-escalate an argument is to articulate, emphasize, and have courage. So I'm willing to hear both sides of the argument. I'm willing to let them both speak their piece on the matter. And then we just need to bring them back in. If the student to teacher type of escalation occurs, YouTube actually promoted a video on de-escalating a situation. And in that video, they stated that a lot of times people just simply want to be heard. And if we, again, goes back to being a good listener. If we just sit there and listen, they need to vent, they want to be heard. A lot of times that is enough to de-escalate the situation so that we can move forward and find a resolution. Now, I'm going to explain how good communication and effective communication promotes student success and a positive learning experience, So, I'm always going to be real and authentic, and I expect my students to be the same. I want to get to know them on a personal level. I want to know what their favorite sports team is. By showing my real and authentic side, by showing my babies and everything else that interests me outside of the workplace, outside of their classroom, I'm hoping that it builds these connections to where we can build tiny little communities in our class, whether student to student or myself to another student. In the long run, this might lead to a mentorship style of relationship. I actually grew up with a mentor as well, 2 of them, and I still regularly talk to them. And the Chronicle of Higher Education actually stated that having a mentor benefits students later in life, long term. So I'm hoping that I can be that for you if you want it as a student. Good communication also affects the engagement within the classroom. People are more invested if they feel appreciated within the classroom. So there we have higher engagement because they actually feel like the work they're doing is being noticed by the instructor. So I'm always going to communicate what each student is doing well and what they can improve on as a means of a rubric for them, a verbal rubric for them to use, as well as a written rubric for every one of their assignments that thoroughly discusses what they did great, how they can improve even further so that we can all be excellent human beings. In conclusion, listening is key. Being a good listener is always going to benefit you in the long run. Being there and available for your students whenever they need you with the office hours or contacting me via email is a great way. But we need to realize that open communication is a 2-way street. The discussions are also key into active learning in the classroom. I'm hoping that my students will actively learn and apply real-world situation to the knowledge that they've learned. There may be challenges, but we are ready to face them on together.